The pregnant widow found a hidden tunnel under the house and regretted opening it. I can hardly believe this sounds possible, but I swear every word I'm about to share happened exactly as I'm telling you in Maplewood, Kentucky during the summer of 2018. Before I continue with this true supernatural account, please subscribe to hear the full story that forever changed my understanding of both life and death. That suffocating summer, heat pressed down like despair itself, and it was then I discovered the tunnel hidden beneath the floorboards of my home. The air grew thick with shadows that danced along the walls like living things, while whispers echoed through the tunnel, calling to me in a voice that wasn't my own. A cold breeze brushed against my skin, sending chills racing down my spine, mixed with an acrid scent of decay, mingling with a floral note, almost like jasmine, a smell that didn't belong in such a decrepit space. With only months left before my baby arrived and the crushing weight of loneliness after losing my husband devastating me, this house felt like my last refuge. But when I pried the loose floorboard and uncovered the tunnel, I realized that something within its dark depths began to reach for my unborn child, leaving icy finger marks on my belly that burned like frostbite. The realization twisted in my gut, fierce and unrelenting. The shadows felt like they were probing closer, and the thrill of discovery was quickly replaced by a dread so profound it constricted my throat. Had I opened a door to a vast, ancient void? The momentary allure of exploration faded, and an overwhelming fear took its place. Was this a gateway to something lost, or was I foolishly provoking that which is best left undisturbed? Before I share what happened next, understand this encounter wasn't merely a haunting. It was a desperate cry for help from a lost soul buried alive beneath my home. A shiver ran through me, and as shadows deepened, I felt an unsettling pull toward a deeper revelation. Some secrets should remain buried. What we dismiss as ghosts often have unfinished business more perilous than we fathom. I thought of my husband, the love we'd built, shattered by his absence. Would my new baby know its father? The shadows pulsed with an energy that felt malicious yet enticing, lurking just beyond my vision, tightening around my heart until it felt heavy. Have you ever sensed something lurking just out of sight? I spoke into the darkness, my voice trembling in the silence. The chilly brush of air against my arm was a reminder that I wasn't alone in this house. I had stirred something ancient, restless, and angry. My heart raced. I needed to comprehend what lay ahead. I recalled stories whispered by my grandmother, who always cautioned against disturbing the unknown. "Leave it be, lest what's buried rise again," she used to say. But what had I done? Driven by instinct, I whispered into the gloom of the tunnel, "What do you want from us?" In response, shadows twisted, revealing chilling echoes of a long-forgotten soul. "We are not here to harm you," they seemed to cry, "but to warn." The pain of loss resonated with me as it became clear this restless spirit needed to be heard, to be acknowledged. Driven by instinct, I whispered into the gloom of the tunnel, "What do you want from us?" In response, shadows twisted, revealing chilling echoes of a long-forgotten soul. "We are not here to harm you," they seemed to cry, "but to warn." The pain of loss resonated with me as it became clear this restless spirit needed to be heard, to be acknowledged. I saw a stirring in the darkness, an urge to venture deeper, not as a victim, but as a protector of my unborn child. What would you do if something unseen began marking your child? I wondered aloud, as a tremor of urgency enveloped me, making the hair on my arms stand. An old rusted tool stirred afar, leaving a trail of debris like breadcrumbs leading to a hidden truth. It felt as though stories buried with those who lingered awaited someone willing to listen. I knelt, nails digging into the earth, reaching for the old wisdom passed down to me. You are not alone, I vowed to myself, breathless with conviction. The air crackled, tension rising, as if something was about to break. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. My breath formed mist in front of me. The veil between our worlds thinned, and in that silence, the pulse of desperation grew louder. Shadows morphed, revealing forms teeming with restless energy. My motherly instinct compelled me to understand. I realized that what moved within those depths was not just a presence, but a plea for recognition. What we call hauntings are often just desperate attempts to deliver warnings we're terrified to hear. In that moment, I connected with this lost essence, a soul that needed understanding. I whispered a prayer of solidarity, reaching out across the divide between life and death. Now it felt like the tunnel transformed from a dark void to a channel conveying its sorrow and needs. What lay beneath wasn't my enemy. It was a guardian laboring to help me, seeking to protect my child and fill the void left by the loss of my husband. I understood that what stirred beneath was not a threat, but a bridge toward understanding, prompting me to face what I had long avoided. I felt the air around me shift, thick with a palpable energy that crackled like electricity. The shadows were no longer aimless. They pulsed with direction, echoing the cries of a sorrowful spirit that begged for attention. My heart raced, torn between fear and the insatiable curiosity that compelled me to understand the depths of this revelation. Rising to my feet, I braced myself, every instinct within me screaming for caution, yet I couldn't shake the realization that I had crossed a threshold into uncharted territory where ancient secrets lay waiting to be uncovered. The tunnel beckoned, calling to me like a siren song. It was a dark invitation, and my maternal instincts clashed with my trepidation. I needed answers, not just for myself, but for the child growing within me. "What do you want?" I asked into the dimness, my voice trembling with both authority and fear. The response came not in words, but in a shifting of shadows, a coherent shape forming just at the edge of my vision. "Listen," it whispered, the sound echoing through the chill-laden air, resonating deep within my bones. Was it an inconceivable vision, or was it a memory desperately reaching out from the past? I closed my eyes, focusing on the pulse of energy that seemed attached to the history swirling around me. Each beat echoed sorrow, and I felt the shadows tighten like an embrace, drawing me into their chilling depths. Yet, how could I trust something lurking in darkness? Grandma's warnings echoed in my mind, louder than the shadows themselves. I shook my head, trying to rid myself of the fear. What if she were wrong? Or worse, what if she were right, and I was about to unleash horrors upon my child just to satisfy some inexplicable curiosity? A wave of doubt washed over me. I had come to this house searching for solace, not supernatural turmoil. Life had already been cruel enough. But then a visceral pull surged through me, a bond formed by the shared essence of motherhood, as if this spirit understood everything I was feeling. I opened my eyes, and the room dimmed around me, while the swirling shadows crystallized, revealing the imprints of tiny handprints on the dusty floor. They glowed faintly against the rotting wood, each mark pulsating with echoing energy, compelling me to kneel beside them. I could feel the desperation woven within the delicate imprints. "Who did this? What happened to you?" I whispered, leaning closer, breathless as I brushed my fingers over the ghostly shadows of the handprints. The sorrow vibrated within me, The longing for acknowledgement touched my heart in ways that both terrified and captivated me. The air shifted again. The shadows twirled around me in a cyclone of emotion. With newfound courage, fueled by an instinct stronger than fear, I drew from a memory when Grandma had spoken of spiritual knots, binding energies together across time. "Are you trapped?" I dared to ask, my voice almost lost in the echoing darkness. "Yes," a voice replied, faint yet filled with longing and regret. "We are trapped." The shadows rippled, creating images of faces twisted in sorrow, their eyes filled with a desperate need for release. These souls were not just lingering specters, they were remnants of lives cut short by tragedy and torment, stifled by a world that had forgotten them. My heart ached for them. I could feel the weight of their stories pressing down on me, as if they pleaded for recognition. People who had once lived, loved, and lost, now bound to the earth by associations they could not escape. "Help!" they whispered in unison, their collective cry sending ripples of energy through the sacred space. The intensity of their need echoed my own desperation. I had lost someone too. I understood their grief. "What do you want me to do?" I was almost pleading, opening myself to whatever truth they might reveal, ready but scared. The punishment of ignorance rang stark in the air, steering my heart toward compassion. The shadows coalesced, a maelstrom of energy forming into the shape of a small boy. His features shimmered like reflections in water, his expression both hopeful and terrified. He reached toward me, tiny hands outstretched in longing, his eyes pools of yearning. "Find our treasures," he whispered, and in that moment, his voice and presence felt achingly familiar. Could it be that these spirits had treasures hidden from sight, linking them to the earth just as they were connected to their stories? "Where do I begin?" I asked. "Where are they?" The boy's form began to fade, yet the energy surrounding me intensified. "Below," he urged again. Instinctively, I understood. The treasures were buried beneath the house I had drawn strength from, concealed in the shadows of the very history I'd unearthed. It felt like an answer spiraling through the air, both a path of discovery and a warning against what remained hidden. "Together," I promised, unsure but resolute, knowing that I was no longer the solitary figure in this timeless house, but intertwined with inexplicable journeys that shaped those who came before me. The weight of unseen bonds wrapped around me, urging me deeper into the darkness, where history lay waiting for someone courageous enough to eliminate it. This was only the beginning of my quest, a transformation that demanded an understanding of all that was lost. The echoes of this once vibrant life reached out. The whispers now sang of hope. As I prepared to brave the dark, I understood that my path was converging with theirs, a bond that would reshape the very meaning of life, death, and everything in between. My heart raced at the revelation. The treasures waiting to be unearthed beneath my home were not mere objects, but vessels of memories, along with stories that longed to be told. I felt the gravity of the task weighed upon me, pulling me deeper into reflection. What could these treasures reveal? I had to know. With my pulse quickening, I stood before the tunnel's yawning mouth, and the darkness seemed to thrum with anticipation as if urging me to plunge into the unknown. The boy's presence lingered, swirling through the air like a gentle wisp. Closing my eyes, I summoned the courage to take the first step, remembering the warmth of connection shared with the restless spirits. I knelt again, placing my trembling hand on the cold floor, trying to feel beyond the wood and dust into the heart of the house and all it concealed. In that heartbeat, I felt the echoes of pain, the laughter of forgotten play, and the shadows of sorrow that had long lingered in the stillness. "Just show me where," I whispered into the abyss, desperation coloring my voice. The shadows intensified as if heeding my call, twisting and swirling like smoke in the dim light. Suddenly, I felt the moisture of tears, emotional remnants left behind like buried treasures that awaited acknowledgement. The air thickened, and I could almost hear their stories woven into the fabric of the home. "Below," the boy's voice echoed again, sounding more insistent this time, urging me to act. I reached down, moving the loose floorboards away. My fingers brushed against rough boards that had held their secrets for so long. But as I pried one open, a gust of cold air coursed upwards, causing me to shiver. It carried with it a peculiar scent, the hint of earth and something sweet, like old flowers mingling with dust. As I descended into the tunnel, dim light from my flashlight illuminated the walls, revealing layers of dirt and aged beams. The further I went, the more the shadows whispered their tales. I had entered a realm where time lost its grip, and the past coexisted with the present, intertwined in stories yearning for release. Each sound felt like a heartbeat, somehow alive and aware. The tunnel twisted and turned, becoming narrower as I crawled deeper. I could feel my breath catch in my throat. Fear and excitement churned in equal measure. What would I find beneath? The darkness began to pulse, not with dread, but with fervent energy, each step forward revealing hidden markers from the past. Inside the stone walls, traces of inscriptions emerged. Names, dates, and handprints pressed into the earth, each telling a fragment of the lives entwined in the tapestry of this house. Then I encountered a space within the corridor. The walls glimmered faintly, as if welcoming me. In the center of the chamber sat a small wooden box, covered in dust and surrounded by remnants of artifacts. A tiny porcelain doll with a missing eye, rusted keys, and worn photographs tinged with age. Was this the treasure? My heart raced at the sight, for I understood then that each piece represented a lost fragment of lives pressed beneath the weight of time. Kneeling before the box, I hesitated, feeling the potent energy, an invitation to unlock the stories that had been held captive for so long. Slowly, I lifted the lid, the creaking sound echoing like a long-buried gasp, breaking the silence of centuries. Inside lay trinkets entwined with memories, a tiny gold locket, a faded love letter, and a lock of hair tied with a fragile ribbon. Each item shimmered with nostalgia and sorrow, breathing life back into the memories they carried. As I lifted each item, visions flooded my mind, flickering images of laughter, of whispers shared beneath the stars, of promises made in innocence. I saw glimpses of a family, a mother holding her child tightly, a father's protective gaze, their struggles and joys encapsulated in those objects. I could feel the spirits of those named within the items swirling around me, urging me to remember and acknowledge their tales. Then the boy's voice returned, gentle and layered with hope. "You must remember us. Tell our stories." Suddenly, the room trembled as voices crescendoed, echoes of lives once vibrant, now desperate for recognition. "Find us," they urged. "Help us rest." A surge of understanding washed over me. Their treasures were not merely relics. They were anchors pulling at the threads of time, and through them, I could set their souls free. "Together," I exclaimed, conviction igniting within me. I would bring these stories back into the light, to honor them, to weave their threads into the very fabric of my own life, and to give them the peace they so deeply craved. In that moment, I could almost see the boy's face again, flickering like a candle flame against the shadows, a smile breaking through his expression of longing, a promise of connection bridging the gap between our worlds. The shadows swirled around me, pulsating as if resonating with my resolve, transforming from a ghostly fog into a protective embrace that cradled my fears and nourished my courage. I clutched the precious artifacts close to my chest, feeling the warmth of the stories seeping into my very being. As I prepared to journey back up to the surface, I made a silent promise. These treasures would not remain buried again. They would be the vessel through which the echoes of the past could live on, a testament to lives once vibrant and deeply loved. The energy around me surged, the corridor guiding me back as the shadows danced in approval. The darkness that once felt threatening had shifted. It was now a chorus of voices uniting in harmony, leading me to the surface, back to the world where I would share their stories and heal the wounds of the past. With every step toward the light, I felt empowered, knowing that together we would bring the buried tales back to life. As I ascended from the depths of the tunnel, the whispers of the past entwined with my own heartbeat, each pulse reassuring me that I was not alone. I emerged into the dim light of my home, the floorboards creaking underfoot like ancient bones coming back to life. The air felt different now, charged with an energy that lingered. The antiquated objects in my hands felt warmer, as if illuminated by the very memories they encased. Directly in front of me lay the old dining room table, where my family had shared countless meals. I placed the artifacts there, the porcelain doll, the gold locket, and the letter neatly arranged like a shrine to the spirits that had called to me. Staring down at them, I felt an overwhelming sense of duty, accompanied by an urge to honor the stories waiting to be told. I knew I had to connect these treasures to the spirits' pasts and share their voices with the world, giving life back to the memories threatened by oblivion. As I examined the letter, worn and faded but still legible, I noticed delicate looping script. "My dearest Eliza," it began, revealing a heartfelt story of love and loss. I could almost hear the tone of voice that might have spoken those words. The shadows danced around me, giving life to the words on the page. Each sentence filled the air with palpable emotion, an echo of forgotten longings and dreams that had been lost. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine as I sensed a presence beside me. I turned, half expecting to see the boy from the shadows, but instead I found a more solid figure, a woman clad in a flowing dress, her expression affirming yet tinged with sadness. It was the spirit of Eliza, the very woman who had penned the letter before me. "Thank you for freeing our treasures," she said softly, her voice like a gentle breeze rustling through leaves. "We have waited so long." My breath caught in my throat, but instead of fear, I felt a wave of warmth wash over me. "I'm here to listen. I want to help you," I replied, my voice steady for the first time amid the chaotic whirlwind of emotions. Eliza smiled, her features illuminated by an inner light. "These artifacts are remnants of our lives, our stories. You must speak them aloud. Let others know we existed and loved as fiercely as any living soul. It is through remembrance that we find peace." "I will share your stories," I promised, my heart swelling inside my chest. The weight of her words pressed upon me, filling me with resolve. I began to recount the contents of the letter aloud, reflecting on each line, pouring into it my emotion, allowing both Eliza's voice and my own to merge. The shadows coalesced into a serene luminescence, angles of light marking the ethereal tears growing from the corners of Eliza's eyes. In witnessing the story unfolding within the walls of my home, I felt a deep satisfaction emanate from the spirit, understanding that these moments resonated just as profoundly with her as they did with me. As I shared Eliza's life, her hopes and her heartaches, other figures began to emerge from the shadows surrounding me, residents of the past who had similarly suffered yet survived through love. Another woman's voice joined Eliza's, filled with nostalgia. "I lost my children to fever," she wept softly, "and I have waited to share the memories of our laughter." "Tell our tales," a young man interjected, stepping into the light, his features bright with vigor. "Let the world hear of our joys and struggles." Together, they filled the room with their stories, voices intermingling like a harmonious cacophony. I stood in the center, the past flooding my senses, as if I was surrounded by vibrant life once again, allowing me to feel the essence of their humanity. Their stories came alive, the laughter of children at play, the sorrow of separation, and the love that bridged time itself. Each voice told not just of loss, but resilience, unity, and hope. I opened my arms, inviting the energies swirling around me to merge with my own, ensuring I could transport their essence into the world beyond these walls. Mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, we are heard. Together, we will share our experience, I called out, my spirit ignited by purpose. As the tales flowed through me, the darkness transformed into an incandescent tapestry of colored light and warmth, an expression of their existence. I could see fragments of Eliza's life woven with the lives of the other spirits, their memories like threads colored with joy and grief alike, intertwining with my own. Stepping closer to the artifacts, I pressed my palms against the porcelain doll, feeling its delicate surface warm under my touch. "You were not forgotten," I spoke gently, "and your story will not fade away. I will honor each moment you lived." As if my words were a bridge to the past, the spirits leaned in, and I could hear their soft murmurs of gratitude echoing in the air. With conviction, I opened the window, letting the fresh air pour in, carrying my voice across the world. Here are the stories of Eliza and the souls woven into my life and the sacrifices made in love. Remember them, honor them, and from now forth their spirits will guide us. The room glimmered with light as their presences flickered around me, and I could feel the peace settle over them, knowing they were now recognized, not just through my memory, but through the telling of their tales. "Mama, who are you talking to?" The soft voice of my young daughter called from the hallway, breaking the enchanting spell, but grounding me in reality. At that moment, I knew I had both the responsibility and privilege to share not only the stories I had unearthed, but to teach her compassion toward the world beyond her own. "You'll understand soon enough," I whispered back, knowing the whispers of the past were now entwined with our present. As I turned back to the artifacts, I saw a flickering glow dance around them, a gentle reminder that our hearts would always remain intertwined across the vast expanse of time. And so began a new chapter, not just for the spirits freed by recognition, but a path filled with honor, remembrance, and connection, navigating the needs of our world, binding us in the legacy of love that transcends even death. As the evening deepened, the sky outside transformed into a velvety canvas studded with stars, a perfect contrast to the vibrancy stirring within my home. I felt their warmth, their gratitude, filling the air like incense, connecting us across the boundaries of existence. The artifacts still glowed softly, pulsing with life, as if each memory contained within them were waiting for an audience, yearning to be honored in meaningful ways. In the back of my mind, I could still hear my daughter's voice, innocent and curious. "Mama, who are you talking to?" It pinged like a bell, fragile yet insistent. I turned to the doorway, expecting to see her there, peeking in with wide, wondering eyes. Instead, she stood just outside, the remnants of playtime painted across her cheeks. The moment hung heavy between us, full of what I couldn't yet explain. "Sweetheart," I called softly. My heart swelled with both love and urgency. "Come here, please." As she stepped into the room, I knelt to her level, enveloping her tiny hand in mine. "I found something special, and I want to share it with you." Her gaze darted over the glowing artifacts adorning the table, a blend of awe and uncertainty flickering in her bright eyes. "What is it, Mama?" Her voice was slightly tremulous, caught in the balance between childhood innocence and the curiosity of the unknown. "People lived and loved in this house just like we do now," I began, my voice steadying with purpose. "These treasures belong to them. They're part of their stories that we need to remember. They teach us about love, loss, and the connections that bind us across time and space." "Mama, can we talk to them?" my daughter asked, eyes wide with excitement and wonder. Seeing her fascination ignited something deep within me, a spark that told me I was not only a conduit for the spirits, but also a protector of the stories that adhere to the living. "You can, my love," I said, brushing back a loose tendril of her hair. "They want to be heard, and they will share their tales with anyone who takes the time to listen." Taking a breath, I led her closer to the artifacts, their warm glow illuminating our faces in an otherworldly light. "But you must be open and respectful. They've been waiting for a very long time." I showed her the porcelain doll. This belonged to a little girl named Mary. She loved to play, but she also learned about the sadness of losing people she cherished. I paused, noticing how captivated my daughter was, tilted forward in eager anticipation. If we listen closely, we might just hear her. We sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by the faint glow of the relics. "What if they don't want to talk to me because I'm too small?" she whispered, her forehead crinkling in uncertainty. I squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You're not too small for kindness, sweetheart. Children understand the world differently than adults. That connection is what allows you to hear them. Let's try together." "All right," she declared, her excitement back, radiating like sunlight cutting through a cloud. "What do we do?" "Close your eyes," I instructed. She mirrored my action, and we tuned our breaths to an even rhythm, pairing with the memories swirling around us. "Now, let's think of an invitation," I said softly, feeling the air simmer with the unspoken potential for interaction. "Let's invite Mary to come and share her story." "Mama, do I say it out loud?" she whispered, hesitant and curious. "Just feel it inside your heart. Let her know we're here." And so we sat, stillness blanketing the room like a soft quilt. After what felt like minutes, I sensed a presence tingling at the edge of my awareness, as if Mary had danced into the room, intertwining her energy with my daughter's hopeful spirit. Then, a flicker of movement caught my eye. The doll began to move slightly, rocking as if it were alive, its hair shimmering like spun gold. Startled yet intrigued, my daughter opened her eyes. "Mama!" she exclaimed, her face an explosion of wonder. "It's okay," I whispered, as my pulse quickened with equal parts fear and excitement. "Stay calm. This is a sign that she wants to make contact." "Mama, can she really talk to us?" Her eyes widened even further, sparkling with curiosity. "Yes, darling, she can. Just listen." The doll's energy shifted, and suddenly I felt the air whispering with the voice of a child, gentle yet insistent. "I played here under the starlight when the shadows danced," said a soft voice, musical and sweet, resonating deep within my mind. "What's your name?" my daughter asked, barely able to contain her excitement. "Mary," came the echo, flowing through us like a summer breeze, and we could see the shapes of her laughter flickering around us. "I had a doll just like this one. She listened to my secrets." "Can you tell us your story?" I asked slowly, heart pounding in rhythm with the whispers filling the room. And in response, the air shimmered as Mary began to recount her tales, weaving together snippets of memories, faded but still vital. I felt a profound shift as the shadows joined in, swirling around us, shifting between me, my daughter, and Mary, a tapestry stitched with the threads of the past, present, and future. Once I played in the sun and chased fireflies with my brother. We ran until we could no longer breathe, our laughter echoing through the trees, she reminisced. But one winter he fell ill, and the laughter faded. I missed him so much. Her voice trembled, and I could feel the weight of her grief. "Mary, I'm so sorry," my daughter whispered, her small frame glowing softly in solidarity. "Mama," she said, her voice sweet but serious, "she's sad because she misses her brother, right?" "Yes, love. And by hearing her story, we can help her remember the joy, not just the sadness." The room shifted, the air wrapping around us like a soft embrace. "I want him to be remembered too," Mary continued, the shadows swirling in intense resonance, "just as you remember what you love." "Well, what was his name?" my daughter asked, her eyes wide with compassion. "Thomas," came the gentle reply, cradled in the energy that surrounded us. "He loved to climb trees and pretend he was a great adventurer. He will always be my hero." As Mary spoke, colors danced in the air, picturing the joy she once experienced. I could feel my daughter absorbing each detail, the essence of those fleeting moments, artistically painting the air with laughter, sorrow, and love. "Mary, we will share your story," I promised, feeling the weight of each word settle deeply in my heart. "We must let Thomas live on too. Both of you deserve that." A wave of profound gratitude washed over us from the spirits gathered, merging into one overwhelming energy that expressed their eternal joy for being remembered. "Thank you," Mary's voice trailed off, echoing through the room, and the glow of the artifacts intensified. "Thank you for listening." We opened our eyes slowly, feeling the tranquil energy settle into a serene completeness, a shared connection that defied the boundaries of life and death. As I looked at my daughter, her enthusiasm flickering like bright sparks, I realized that by honoring Mary, by opening this dialogue, we were embarking on a journey of healing that would ripple far beyond our tiny lives. "Mama, can we do this again tomorrow?" she asked, pressing forward with excitement. "Can we invite more people to share their stories?" "Yes, sweetheart," I replied, holding her close, my heart swelling with pride. "We will remember them, and every story we hear will lead us closer to love and understanding." As we cleared the table, carefully arranging the artifacts back into their sacred place, I felt the weight of responsibility for the spirits entrusting us with their tales. They deserved a voice, and I had the privilege of being their vessel. The moonlight streamed through the windows, and the shadows shifted, no longer oppressive, but rather comforting, guiding us into the night. Together, we had awakened the echoes of lives once lost, bringing clarity to their pain and carrying forward their memories into love and light. With each story we would uncover, I promised myself that the connections forged between us would resonate for generations, reminding all who came through our home that life's greatest legacy lies not just in existence, but in the stories we share, the love we give, and the bonds that define our humanity. The next day dawned brighter, its warmth filtering through the spaces of my home, nearly tangible in its promise of new beginnings. I felt invigorated, eager to delve deeper into the stories waiting to be shared and honored. As my daughter came down the stairs, her braids bouncing, she wore a determined expression that mirrored my own. "Mama, are we going to find more treasures today?" she asked, practically bouncing on her toes. "Yes, my love," I replied, my heart swelling with excitement. "And I think we should invite some friends over to join us this time." Remember, the more we share, the brighter our light becomes. Her eyes sparkled with delight. "Can I tell them what we did yesterday about Mary and Thomas?" "Absolutely. That's a wonderful idea." My smile widened as I watched her enthusiasm flourish. We spent the morning making invitations, crafting colorful notes, sharing our plans for an evening of stories. I could hardly contain my exhilaration, imagining the connections we would forge, the lives we would honor through this act of remembrance. When evening descended, the first to arrive was our neighbor, Mrs. Hawthorne, an elderly woman with a joyful spirit and a penchant for storytelling. She walked to our door, carrying a basket filled with homemade cookies, her eyes glinting with curiosity. "Hello, dear. What's this about an evening of stories?" she asked, her voice warm like the treats in her hands. "We're sharing stories of the past, Mrs. Hawthorne. My daughter and I found some treasures yesterday that belonged to a little girl named Mary. It was incredible," I said, leading her into our living room where we had set out the artifacts on the table, their glimmer reflecting our anticipation. "Oh my, how lovely," Mrs. Hawthorne said, a smile gracing her lips. "Children's treasures hold so much meaning. I'd be delighted to listen." Soon, more neighbors joined us, filling the room with laughter and warmth. Each friend brought their own delightful energy, and soon the evening transformed into a celebration of collective memory. My daughter stood in front of everyone, a commanding presence in her small stature, full of pride as she began to share Mary's story, recounting her joys and heartbreak with an innocent sincerity that captivated everyone listening. "Mary loved to play with her brother Thomas," she said, her voice rising and falling like a soft melody. "But he got sick and she misses him." As she spoke, I caught glimpses of the glowing energy swirling around us, and I felt the spirits moving closer, their presence weaving in and out like whispered breezes. The room filled with a gentle hum, and for a moment I felt a wave of belonging wash over us all, a singular spirit of connection woven through both the living and the lost. When my daughter was finished, Mrs. Hawthorne chimed in, reflective. "You know, that reminds me of a dear friend I had when I was young. Her name was Lily, and she loved flowers. She would create secret gardens that only we two could know about." The room fell silent, anticipation hanging in the air like candy floss on a fairground ride. Mrs. Hawthorne continued, her voice steady but marked by long dormant emotion. "She had a beautiful rose bush outside her house. One day, I wasn't able to see her. She was taken too soon, just before summer began." A bit sweet air settled over the room as everyone listened raptly. Memories etched in Mrs. Hawthorne's mind seemed to blossom around us, casting warmth akin to sunshine splintering through branches. I could almost hear Lily's laughter weaving through the stories. And every year, when the roses bloom, I think of her, Mrs. Hawthorne continued, her gaze distant yet shimmering with fondness. I bring roses to the cemetery for her and say a prayer, because remembering is a way to carry them with us every day. An approving murmur swept through the room, amplifying the beauty of the moment. One neighbor after another spoke, stories cascading like a symphony, their laughter intertwined with the sting of a tear. Mr. Thompson recounted the tale of his childhood dog, a loyal companion that had given him boundless joy and comfort during his teenage years. Lucy, a young woman who had just started to find her footing as an adult, expressed with a slight quiver, "I never met my grandfather, but my mom told me stories of his adventures. Each story feels like a piece of him. I wish I could have known him." As the evening unfolded, the living breathed life into the dying memories held in the room. Their stories rang with the echoes of laughter, the shadows drawing nearer, and I felt an overwhelming sense of connection weaving through us all. It was as if Mary and Thomas had opened a door to the past, allowing us to commune not only with our ancestors, but also with one another. Gradually, I began to understand that storytelling wasn't merely an act of sharing. It was an act of unification, of unearthing buried feelings that connected generations. It illuminated paths forward from sorrow to joy, weaving lives together through the fabric of shared experience. Feeling the presence of Mary and Thomas flickering in the air like starlight, I realized that the spirits of the past were thrilled to witness this embrace between the generations. They had long sought acknowledgement, and now that yearning was being fulfilled through the very lives they once knew. Their stories thrived anew in our conversations, just as the fragrant roses lived on through Mrs. Hawthorne's love. As the evening concluded, we held hands in a circle, heartfelt gratitude swirling like a gentle tide. The energy in the room shimmered with love, compassion, and warmth. I looked around and saw fresh bonds forming among the neighbors as they promised to return for another evening of stories, each honored to carry the echoes of the lost. "Mama, that was amazing!" my daughter exclaimed, her small face beaming with exhilaration. "It made me feel all squiggly inside." "Yes, dear," I replied, sweeping her up into a warm embrace. "We've created something wonderful tonight. The stories we share not only connect us to those who came before us, but also teach us the importance of remembering and honoring their lives." In the days that followed, our evenings filled with laughter, storytelling, and the invigorating camaraderie of shared experience. Each neighbor brought new artifacts and memories of their own to honor the lives of those gone by, and with each gathering, our little home transformed into a beacon of light, illuminating the importance of community and remembrance. As the air thickened with warmth, whispers of gratitude danced around us, bringing comforts to the spirits looking for connection. The overlapping rhythms of our tales knitted together a legacy of love and understanding, a harmonious blend of the living and the departed, forever entangled within the stories we tell. No longer haunted, but buoyed by the beauty of the connections we forged, I remained ever grateful for the journey we had embarked upon. Even as the days turned into weeks, Mary and Thomas remained present in our lives, a gentle reminder that love withstands the tide of time, waiting to be honored, cherished, and celebrated through storytelling, holding the past so closely that it pulses like a living heartbeat in everything we do. As spring blossomed into full bloom, the air around us swirled with the scent of fresh blossoms, and life seemed to thrive in a vivid palette of colors. Each evening, our home transformed into a refuge, a sacred space for the intertwining stories that flowed from the hearts of our neighbors. Our gatherings became a cherished ritual, a tapestry woven with laughter, love, and remembrance. One evening, after a long day spent in the garden, my daughter rushed into the living room, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Mama, today I picked flowers. Can we tell stories about them today?" she asked, holding out a handful of vibrant wildflowers, their petals bright against her small palm. I smiled wide at her enthusiasm. Of course, each flower has its own story, just like each person. Tonight, we can celebrate that together. As our neighbors arrived, I noticed the familiar faces that had become a warm part of our extended family. Among them was Mrs. Hawthorne, who brought along a basket of cookies shaped like various flowers. "I thought these would be perfect for our flower story night," she said, her smile infectious. Once everyone settled in, I looked around at the group, each person a part of the tapestry we were creating. "Tonight, we're going to share stories about flowers and the memories they invoke," I announced, handing my daughter a delicate daisy. Mrs. Hawthorne raised an eyebrow playfully. "Ah, the daisy, a symbol of innocence and purity. Did you know that when I was a girl, we would gather these flowers and make chains to wear around our heads? It made us feel magical." Laughter erupted, and the ambiance of nostalgia hung heavy in the air. "Flowers can remind us of special moments," I added, encouraging others to reflect on their own experiences. The evening unfolded like the petals of a blooming flower. Each neighbor took turns recounting personal stories connected to particular blossoms, fantastic tales bursting with vivid details and deep emotions that pulled us closer together. Then it was Mr. Garrett's turn to share. He was still a relatively new face, his wild gray hair framing a wise expression. "When I think of flowers, I am immediately reminded of my childhood home," he began, the corners of his mouth lifting with warmth. "We had a wildflower garden, an untamed patch of color and fragrance." His voice resonated with a quiet authority that drew everyone's attention. There was a little girl from down the street, always delighted by the blooms, and we used to play hide and seek in that garden. One day, she told me she believed the flowers held secrets of the universe. "What kind of secrets?" a neighbor asked, leaning forward. "She said every flower whispered a story to the one who listened," he replied, smiling at the memory. "So we would sit among the daisies, closing our eyes to hear the secrets they had to share." The room fell silent, wrapped in the embrace of Mr. Garrett's words. He continued, recounting tales of childhood games, punctuated by the gentle laughter of friends. "That little girl taught me to appreciate the simple beauty around us and to always keep my heart open to stories, both from nature and from the people around me." As Mr. Garrett spoke, I could feel energy build in the atmosphere. It was as if the spirits of those we honored were drawing closer, fluttering around us like unseen butterflies. My daughter, completely absorbed in the moment, clutched her bouquet tightly, her eyes wide with wonder. When it was my turn, I decided to share a story of my own. "I remember my grandmother loved peonies," I began, a smile crossing my face as I thought of her. "Every summer, she would plant them in her garden, saying they were special because they only bloom for a short while. She would often say, 'Cherish them while they last, just like the moments we have with our loved ones.'" The nostalgia in my voice filled the room as I recounted how my grandma would host tea parties in her garden, the vibrant peonies acting as our backdrop. We would sit for hours, sharing stories, her tales of growing up during the war intermingled with my childish fantasies. Those moments shaped me. After my story, the floodgates opened, and neighbors eagerly began sharing their own memories tied to flowers, remembrances of lost loved ones, tales of blooming friendships, and the sheer joy of being connected through nature. Mrs. Hawthorne spoke fondly of her late husband, whose favorite flower was the tulip. He believed they were symbols of true love, she said, her voice filled with warmth. Every spring, he would surprise me with a bouquet. Even after he passed, those tulips remind me of the love we shared, vibrant and constant. Tears glistened in many eyes as heartfelt stories painted our room with emotions both joyful and bittersweet. It felt sacred. Each tale wrapped around us, a soothing balm for the souls lingering. As the evening neared its end, we joined hands, forming a circle filled with love. These stories bind us, connecting us not just to one another, but to those we've lost too, I said, feeling a swell of gratitude. Just like each flower contributes to a garden's beauty, every story enriches our lives and creates something beautiful together. My daughter piped up, her voice a sweet melody. So flowers are like our stories. They bring joy and colors to the world, even if they don't last forever. Exactly, sweetheart, I affirmed, squeezing her hand. What we cultivate, our bonds, our memories, helps us understand the importance of love and connection. Each story and flower we share becomes part of a larger living tapestry. The energy in the room pulsed with a newfound understanding, resonating with the spirit of all those we've honored. As we wrapped up the night, it was clear that we had not only honored memories, but we'd also awakened a shared appreciation for the beauty of connection and life itself. In the following days, our gatherings grew in both numbers and depth. Neighbors invited friends, each person bringing their own artifact or story linked to someone they missed, creating a mingling of lives that was both collective and individual. I realized we were building a community of remembrance, honoring the past while nourishing the present. With every shared encounter, I became more aware of how stories hold power. They remind us of love, loss, and the threads that weave us together, even across time and space. And as whispers of gratitude continue to dance around our home, I felt the gentle presence of Mary and Thomas, guiding us, comforting us, and inspiring us to reach out and share our lives and stories with love. As the weeks passed, our home became a sanctuary pulsating with the vibrant energy of shared stories and memories. Each evening of remembrance turned into a kaleidoscope of laughter, tears, and heartfelt connections. We had established a sense of community that transcended the ordinary. It became a living testament to the intertwining of our lives with those who had passed. The stories continued to flow, carrying with them the echoes of laughter and the weight of sorrows once heavy on our hearts. One night, as the warm glow of candlelight flickered around the room, a newcomer joined our circle, a woman named Clara, new to the neighborhood. Her eyes were bright with curiosity, yet shadowed by a touch of sadness. As she sat down, I could sense that she brought with her a presence that demanded to be acknowledged. Clara introduced herself softly, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. I've heard so much about this gathering. Honestly, I've been looking for a way to talk about my sister who passed away last year. Her voice trembled slightly as she continued. She loved to garden, especially nurturing daisies and sunflowers. Those are beautiful flowers, my daughter chimed in, her innocence radiating warmth. They always look so happy. Clara's eyes softened. They truly do. My sister made a daisy chain for me every summer. She paused, the memory drawing her into a gentle embrace. I miss her laughter, her warmth, and those beautiful chains that reminded me to find joy in small things. Encouraged by her sincerity, I invited Clara to share more if she felt comfortable. We're here to honor those we love. Your sister is a part of our lives through your memories, I said gently. Clara nodded, taking a deep breath. This is hard for me, she admitted, wiping a tear sliding down her cheek. We used to sit for hours in the garden, weaving stories and laughter as we crafted those daisy chains. She believed every flower had its own spirit. The room held its breath, allowing her to continue. I never realized how much I would miss that until she was gone. The shadows encircled her, as if pausing in reverence, and I felt the spirits we honored draw closer, echoing her pain but also her love. "Your sister still lives within you, Clara," I said softly, "and through your stories you can let her spirit soar." With that encouragement, Clara recounted tales of her sister's quirks and laughter, each story resurrecting a vivid image in our minds. The room absorbed her words, and around us I sensed the presence of her sister, a comforting embrace wrapping around Clara. Several neighbors chimed in with their own anecdotes about daisies and the joy they found in their gardens, each story threading together the fabric of our memories. It was a beautiful moment of connection that wrapped around us like the warm embrace of a summer breeze. Clara's burden seemed lighter as she shared, drawing strength from our collective spirit. As the evening descended into night, we formed a circle once more, hands held tightly, hearts bonded through shared experiences. These stories connect us to those who love us, to those we carry with us, I reflected, feeling every heart beating in the quiet of the moment. Not only do we honor the past, but we create a legacy that thrives beyond our time. Just like the flowers we cherish, I continued, the stories we share bring us together, reminding us that even after they leave this world, they can still touch us, guide us, and nurture us, just like the wildflowers in Clara's garden. When I looked at Clara, I saw a glimmer of hope reflected in her eyes, a realization that her sister's essence would forever linger in the hearts of those who knew her, echoed in the stories we shared. As our gathering wound down, we held our collective breath in a moment of tranquility, intertwined through the tales that glowed around us. I realized then that what we had built was not merely a collection of memories, it was a sanctuary for every spirit that had whispered their stories into the winds of the living world. Stepping outside alongside the lingering warmth of fellowship, I gazed at the stars twinkling above. Each star seemed to shine in honor of the lives we had commemorated, reminding us of the endless beauty surrounding our existence. What had once felt lonely transformed into a vibrant network of souls, a shared tapestry of love, loss, and hope. As we parted ways that night, I made a silent vow to continue this journey of remembrance. Every day, every story would breathe life into the spirits that guided us, reminding us that they were never truly gone. They thrived, intertwined in our laughter, enshrined in our stories, and lived on in the love we continued to share. And in that moment, I felt Mary and Thomas watching over us, proud of the legacy we had begun to weave, a legacy of stories, of flowers, and of unwavering love that connected us all, transcending the boundaries of time and space. The journey was far from over. It was only just beginning.